Welcome everybody to the Sideline Speaks. Brittany Jones, Kevin Walker, and Jason Collins. Good to be with you guys tonight. Britt, how you doing tonight?
I'm good. A lot going on, but I'm good.
All right.
And I
K
know why
Walk.
you're asking me that question.
K Walk, what's going on, man? How you doing tonight?
All is well as well. Looking forward to another great one.
All right, man. We got a ton of great stuff to talk about. Of course, we're going to talk about that Tyson Jake Paul fight. Definitely going to get into all the NFL stuff, a little bit of NBA stuff to get into as well. But before we talk about anything, let's shout out our faithful listeners.
Sandy, how
Sandra
are you?
T, Sandy, what's going
Sean,
on? Sean, what's going on? Glad you
appreciate
guys
you
are
guys.
with us tonight. Thank you for joining.
Nikki
Mikey,
Brass,
what's
what's up,
going
buddy?
on, man?
Oh, I
Appreciate
thought
you
I said
coming
Mickey.
back as
Said Mickey.
well. All right, but
Mikey, my bad, brother.
Britt, we got to start right in your backyard because this just kind of came out a few hours ago. Some drama in the Sixers locker room. Maxey calling out Embiid in a team meeting, saying Embiid's a little bit late for not a little bit. He's late for everything, and it's affecting the team. It's affecting the chemistry. It's affecting the locker room. I don't want to say too much about this, Britt, because this is your squad. You got them hanging up behind you. What's going on in Philly? What are your thoughts on this?
Should I go first on this or should K Walk go first on this?
I really feel like you should, Britt. This is
Yeah,
your
I
please.
squad. We want to hear from you on this one.
Indeed.
as I could sit and everything on my end look a little crooked to me. Yeah, I think I'm trying to keep this cool and copacetic, y'all. I really am. But I think, I think I told you guys before, it is the Philadelphia 76ers are the Dallas Cowboys of the NBA. It is a complete circus, and it has been a complete circus since Josh Harris has owned this organization. Ever since he brought this team, it has been just issues left and right, up and down. To me, I don't have any hope right now. I don't have any hope for this team. I just don't. Thank goodness. I will say this. Thank goodness for Tyrese Maxey. I think he's the one that's saving this franchise because he actually does what he's supposed to do and he works hard. But I can't speak for the same for other players surrounding him, primarily Joel Embiid. Guys know, y'all know how I feel about Joel Embiid. I love his talent. I still think he's probably one of the best talents in the NBA. But you're a leader and
Mm.
I'm trying to keep cool because this is some frustrating stuff. And to constantly hear the bull crap that comes out of this locker room, mainly dealing with him. It started in the off season. It started like, come on. I try not to get too hard because I understand how injuries work.
Yeah.
I've played sports, I've been injured. I understand how difficult it can be to come back from that. That is more of a mental game more than anything else once you get healed because you have to get over that mental hurdle. So I understand that part. But when I watch the games, and I haven't watched many because I said this team is terrible. The coaching is terrible, the offense is terrible, the defense is horrific. And it's too much talent on this team for them to perform like this. It tells me there's something wrong in the locker room. And Maxi, being, I think he's 4 years in now. I believe this
Yeah.
is his 4 years. Going to Joel Embiid, who has been in the league 9 or 10 years now, something like that, telling you got the young buck telling you, what are we doing? You're the leader, and we go off of your habits. He has to, how does somebody that much younger than you have to explain to you what to do or how to do or how to be a leader? To me, Maxi is the leader of this team. It is not Embiid. To me, Embiid never wanted to be the leader of this team since he got into the league. Look at every time they get somebody else, he always wants to go to the second person. When Jimmy Butler was here, Jimmy, you take it. When James Harden was here, Harden, you take it. Now it's Tyrese Maxey's turn, but I think Tyrese Maxey is the one to hopefully help to elevate this team for years to come. Without him, I don't think the Sixers sell these tickets. They're going to sell them somewhat, but I don't think they sell them. I really don't, because it's a joke. It is a god awful joke. Excuse me, I did not mean to use the word God. Using your name in vain. But it is like it's a pure joke. And Joel Embiid, all the talent that he has, he's becoming a joke. Troll my behind. That's enough of the trolling. What is your goal? is your goal is to cry every 5 seconds, I was hurt, I was this, I was that.
Yeah.
Like, you ran out of excuses a long time ago. Your excuses are done and over with. If you want to ring, you better show up and show out. The only issue in the locker room in my eyes is him. Is he going to change it or not?
Yeah.
Because it's going to be up to him. And it is what it is. You got some young talent on this team. Tyrese Maxey, Jared McCain. You got Paul George on this team. Like, you have talent on this team, but it's not coming together. And to me, he is the main culprit. The organization is the number one culprit. But then right after them, it's going to be Joel Embiid.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it.
And Britt, when you brought this to my attention this afternoon, I was actually surprised because even though for all the things that Embiid has been through in Philly, I know, and obviously I'm not deeply locked in with the Sixers or anything like that, but I never thought of him maybe as a guy who would be late for meetings, late for training sessions, late for practice. And again, I'm just throwing that out there. I don't have a lot of specifics, but I never thought of him as that type of guy. So when this came out, I was actually surprised about it. The only thing I'll really say about it is, especially as you alluded to, Britt, when you're a guy that has had a long injury history, and even though he's a great player, I don't think any of us would disagree with that. You sort of start wearing thin, like when you're not available, when you don't show up in the big moments. And then to kind of carry yourself in that way, where you're not doing everything that you need to be doing off the court, I was shocked. And it's just a really, really bad look. But K-Walk, man, what are your thoughts on this whole situation?
Yeah, I agree with everything you guys said. And Britt, when you were describing Joel Embiid as far as not being that leader, you were I thought if we didn't know who we were talking about and we thought we had to make a guess, it sounded like Kevin Durant. It sounds like Kevin Durant, who shies away from being that guy, that leader, if you will. Just because you're the best player doesn't necessarily make you the best leader. And we clearly see that, in this situation. And like you said, Jen, I was going to mention that as well, is like, I didn't think he was like that. I remember when James Harden was, with you guys in Philly, and I remember him being that leader. Now it seems like he's just, I don't know what it is. I'm not even gonna pretend like I know, but it just seems like he doesn't want to be that guy. It seems like he doesn't want that responsibility. It's kind of like that teaching is, just do as I say, not as I do type mentality, with Joel Embiid. And to hear that, he, a lot of people said he was doubtful last night's game, and then he just shows up in pregame and, starts to shoot around. He starts to, he's ready to go and he starts. I don't understand why they started him, to be perfectly honest with you. If they thought he was doubtful, if they thought he wasn't even going to be there. But, maybe he had a talk with, with coach or things of that nature. But nonetheless, with Joel Embiid, I mean, he has to accept that responsibility. If he doesn't want that responsibility, say I don't want that responsibility, and like you said, Brett, Max, he seems like he wants those rings, and he's willing to do it. I saw him last night. I was watching the game as a Heat fan, watching the game, and he was dialed in on that sideline on the bench. Every time a play happened or if someone came off the court, he was right in their ear, letting them know what's going on, what to do in certain situations. So he's taking on that leadership role by the rings. But as far as Joel Embiid goes, it's the second time we're talking about him, in situation in the locker room. First is with the media guy. Now it's with, now it's with his teammates. And hats off to Maxey for calling him out, man. Really, a lot of people would just be like, hey, I can't say anything because I'm not that guy. But Maxey's not afraid to take those rings, and hats off to him, without question.
Okay, well, that right then and there, that has been a problem for the last 9 or so years. And I know someone who knows a lot of people within the organization, kind of works within that organization as well. And everybody was scared for the last so many years to even say anything to Joel Embiid about his habits.
Mm-hmm.
How does somebody learn, especially when they first come in? Because we're all very well aware of when the Sixers first drafted Embiid, how they had this college-like atmosphere. Was all these young guys. There were no leaders or no veterans on the team to show these young guys on how to do certain things, how to carry themselves in a professional way, and to show them how to take care of their bodies or whatever it might be. So, and then at this point, Embiid is your star. Ben Simmons at one point was your star, and you're scared to say anything to him. Why?
Yeah.
Because he may threaten to request a trade. But have him threaten to request a trade. Let's see how that works for you. It didn't work very well for Ben Simmons. Now, did it? No. Um, it didn't. I just need maturity. It's like, my guy, you're 30 years old. You're 30 years old. When does the maturity set in? I have a lot of respect for you as a family guy and so forth. But just goes back to, what is your goal? What is your goal? You got your MVP and well deserved. I know there's a couple people on X trying to challenge me. He's the worst MVP. That year he deserved that MVP. Okay, we're focused on this year, but this year, I understand that you're injured, but to me, it's about effort when I see you on the court. K-Walk, you was watching that game yesterday. Can you sit and tell me, watching Joel Embiid, he went all out? I understand, again, you might be a little timid with certain things, but when I see you go and grab a rebound, it doesn't take much skill to go get a rebound. You ain't got to be the best player in the world. That's effort. Defense is effort. So I'm like, and you 10 years into the league and you're still not grasping this. The question is now, is it time for you to request a trade? Because I'm about fed up. I'm about here. I really am. Again, it's hard for me to say that because when you look at the man's skill set, there's nobody his size, his height that can do what he is capable of doing. But at the same time, he has to be accountable. He has to be and do what he's supposed to do to help elevate this team to a certain level. If not, maybe it's time to get out. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's interesting because everybody's not a leader, right? I mean, some guys just aren't built that way. And if you're not a leader, you're not a leader. Like you mentioned KD, K-Walk. Like people have been on Kevin Durant for maybe not taking a larger leadership role. But at least with KD, like I don't think we hear reports about him. Maybe he's not a great vocal leader, but he's a guy that's at least putting in the work. You know what I mean? Like I think there's a big distinction between, hey, I'm just not a natural born leader, and hey, I'm a guy that's showing up late for meetings. I'm showing up late for practice. Crazy. I'm showing up late for my rehab. Like, I mean, for Maxey to say you're showing up late for everything and it's affecting the locker room, it had to be pretty bad. And it had to be going on for a long time for Maxey to actually speak up about it. So I don't know where they go with this situation. I mean, like, he's an incredible talent, Britt, as you just said. So it's hard to let great talent walk out the door, but they got to figure it out. I mean, they're a 2-11 team. So I'm just not sure how we spin this thing forward. But Britt, I mean, go ahead. I
will say, Jay, you hear that? 2-11. You got all this talent on this team, and somehow you're 2-11.
Yeah,
that's wild to me. That's crazy to me. And basketball is different than football for the most part.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, both sports you put in effort, but basketball you're probably more likely to win on talent alone more than any other sport.
Yeah,
in my opinion, maybe outside of baseball. Because I think baseball, they depend on a lot of talent. But, but you got Paul George, you got Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, Jared McCain, who has been balling and is now in running for rookie of the year this early on. He's averaging like 28 points per game, something crazy. So you got guys who's supposed to play, be able to play defense. Nobody is playing great. Why is Caleb Martin a go-to guy? He should never be a go-to guy in any circumstance. Why is he a go-to guy? And I hate his shot. I'm sorry, I just kind of came at him. That's horrible. But says Mel from Man Down Sports. That's exactly why the story was leaked. It's supposed to make the fan base think of him in a negative light. So when the front office do what they about to do, he has no backup.
Interesting. It's interesting.
Yeah, very. But you got to look at it too, because I think Joel doesn't want to be there anymore. Personally, I think he doesn't feel appreciated because he's used this term time and time again. Is I've done so much for this city, I've done so much for the city. I've heard it. I don't know how many times up here in New York. So I can only imagine how many times you guys, hear it down there in Philadelphia or the Philadelphia area. So I think he's starting to feel maybe he doesn't want to be here anymore. I think that's what we're starting to see. And his actions are telling us that he no longer wants to be here because he doesn't feel appreciated. He said it, and I think he's starting to sabotage. I think this is intentional, in my opinion only, ladies and gentlemen. I just feel like this is intentional.
And if that's true, like if he feels like he's not appreciated, and if he feels like he's done so much for the city, okay, but at the end of the day, like it's sports and the bottom line is winning. So until you deliver a championship, like I don't know. And again, Britt, you can probably have much more of a feel on this than I do, but I just don't know that the people of Philadelphia are sitting there thinking Joel has done so much for us. Like they deliver a championship, take them to the NBA finals. Like I'm just not so sure that maybe everyone else shares that same sentiment that he does, and he's done so much for the city. He's been great and he's a great player. So I don't want to take that away from him. But at the end of the day, it's sports and you're judged based off of wins and losses. And you have to deliver when the money's on the line. And he just has not done that to me up to this point.
I think Joel has to understand that you have a fan base that has your back, or had your back, however you want to put it, but has your back.
Yeah.
That has written for you. One person is right, but has written for you since you've been in the league. Even the first 2 years when you were gone, we were being patient, waiting for you. Every single year that you get hurt in the second round of the playoffs, we have been there for you. And it's just like, who are you focusing your attention on? Because the fan base in Philadelphia loves you. So who are you talking about from this perspective?
Yeah.
Because if you talk to anybody in Philadelphia, we love Joel Embiid. We want him to be here for the rest of his career, but not if he's acting like this. Not if he's doing this.
Yeah.
It's like this time it's on you. You have to take accountability. And for a young buck, I don't know if that's offensive nowadays, but for a young guy to tell you this, and I'm glad they have a very close relationship, so he is able, or he feels like he could speak up to you in this way, or he could challenge you in this way. But for him to tell you this, that's kind of backwards to me. You're supposed to be telling him this.
Yeah. Yeah.
In my opinion. So I mean, look, I'm not saying it's over. They ain't got much time. They got a little bit of time left at 2-11.
Long season.
It's a long season. Believe it or not, they only 3 games out of the play-in. And I think only 6 or 7 games out of that third seed, which to me at 2-11 at this point in the season, we're looking like it might be a little tough, but this year is so different. You still have a chance to get it together. You still have a chance to turn around. And if you're hurt, if you're that injured, then maybe you need to sit out and allow the other people build some chemistry, and play to their full potential, hopefully. So I don't know. To me, it comes back on Joel Embiid. And I guess the question is it time for a trade? Yeah. For me, not yet. Not yet. You just signed an extension for me. But I ain't far off.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you, Britt. For me, I would say not yet too. And look, maybe the silver lining in this whole thing, the reports are that Embiid took the criticism well. That's what I read, that he was receptive to it, that he understood. It's not like he pushed back or, they had a big blow up or something like that. So that could be, if we're looking for silver linings, maybe that's it, that Embiid received the message that Maxey was given to him. And then who knows what this thing's going to look like going forward. But we'll keep an eye on it, guys. Anyone else have any more thoughts on this before we move on?
Oh, Jay, I could say so much more. I just don't know if I got the time to say it. Because I got to come at the coaching in the front office. But that's a whole
that might be another 25 minutes. So
no, it won't be 25 minutes. Man Down Sports, that Durant not a leader narrative is also false.
Man Down, I'm with you on that. I'm a big KD guy, so I'm with you on that one. All right, y'all, let's shift gears because Friday night, Iron Mike Tyson took on Jake Paul.
What type of
what can only be described as a lackluster fight. I mean, I don't even know how we can describe this thing. Netflix was the big winner and loser. I think they said, I can't even remember the number, but it was a crazy number of households that tuned into this thing.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the stream was blurry and spinning and laggy and all kinds of things.
Yeah.
But anyway, K-Walk, I'm going to start with you on this one. Just give me your thoughts on this fight. I was locked in. I was looking forward to it. Walked away extremely disappointed.
Yeah.
But what were your thoughts on Tyson versus Paul?
Yeah, you and millions worldwide was disappointed, without question. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we looking at it, I didn't hear anything about it being rigged or anything like that going into it. But when you watch that, and you hear the rumblings, I think Britt, you had mentioned it too. That's what I was like, I was just trying to make a funny out of it, like, this can't be rigged. Then you look at this, and I was like, yeah, you go back and you watch it, and you look at it, and it's like, and you hear all the stories behind it about the contract and the agreement and things of that nature. And yeah, you look at it and you say, okay, yeah, definitely rigged, going in, a lot of people probably put their money on Iron Mike. I didn't bet on it by any stretch. But I think a lot of people went in on Mike. I think Vegas, you mentioned Netflix winning. Vegas might have won too, Jay, to be honest with you. But yeah, it's just, it's a gimmick. It's on Netflix. So, going in, I guess you had to think that it was going to be rigged. It was just for show. We had that. Then you look back at that slap at the weigh-ins with Mike, with the stare down with him and Jake. Yeah, it's just, if I knew going in, Jay, that it was rigged, I'd have been all right with it. I guess I would have been all right with it. But just knowing that you thought it was going to be something real, it was going to be competitive, and then to hear that it wasn't, it's just sad because Mike had an opportunity to knock the guy out. He hit him and like one good left, and then he wanted to follow up with him, and then he was like, "Nah, I think I might keep my money on this one because he could have knocked. I think he could have got Paul, but overall, I mean." Just sad to know that it was rigged going in, man. But after the fact, and it still wasn't that entertaining, even if you knew it was rigged. It wasn't that entertaining, to be honest.
I'm gonna play the other side of the coin on this one, and it might be partly because there's just a part of me that wants to believe that our sports are still somewhat competitions, right?
LIG,
but here's my thing to the rig thing. Number one, Mike Tyson is 58 years old, and to me, he looked like an old, tired man in the ring. After about 45 seconds, to me, he looked like he was fatigued. So that's one thing. But then here's the other thing. If you're going to rig a fight, right? If you're going to go WWE, why not have guys jumping off of cages? Why not have people going through tables? Like, if you're going to rig a fight, why have Mike Tyson just stand in the middle of the ring and do nothing? At least rig it in a way where, hey, I'm going to beat up on you the first couple rounds. You come back and beat up on me the next couple rounds. We finish with this great big finale, but at the end of the day, we already have determined who the winner is. If you're going to rig a fight, make it entertaining. I've just never heard of anything being rigged and being that boring. So we're going to rig this thing. But the way we're going to do it is you're just going to stand there, land 18 punches the entire fight, and that's the plan we came up with to rig it. That's my reason why I'm not so sure this thing was rigged. And I think Tyson got into this fight about a minute in it. I think he realized he was in over his head and that he wasn't in the kind of shape that he thought he was in, that he wasn't as quick as he thought he was. He looks great in some of those video clips, hitting a guy holding a bag that's not moving. But when you actually have to be able to move and go get somebody, I think he realized that he just could not do it. So for me, I'm not sure it was rigged. I think Tyson's almost 60, and he's not the Mike Tyson that everybody remembers. But Britt, go ahead. What do you say?
I disagree. Look, I think age is a factor, absolutely. But let's be real. Mike Tyson is a former heavyweight champion. You going to sit and tell me, regardless of age, he don't know how to protect his head at least? Fine. You don't want to throw a shot? That's fine. You just leave yourself wide open. When I watched the first couple rounds and I cut it off, I said, this man just leaving himself wide open to get tapped. That like you can see this. And then when he went, first of all, we all know Mike Tyson, one of his moves is what? It's most the uppercut. Like he usually dips down and he cuts it. He had about 50 opportunities to throw that uppercut. And every time I could see he wanted to throw something, he pulled right back. The one, I think it was in the first round, he connected on Jake Paul. That's his name, right? I always mess their names up. He connected on Jake Paul and he looked apologetic, like, oops, I wasn't meant to do that. I wasn't supposed to do that. And he caught him good. And after that, when he looked like he was getting ready to throw a punch, you could see Jake Paul actually look a little nervous. Like he looked nervous at times, but Mike Tyson was like, wait a minute, I got $20 million on my mind. I can't mess with whatever this contract says, because then you can hear it's been said that in the contract they couldn't really hit each other but so hard. They didn't want Mike Tyson to really go all out against Jake Paul because they felt like one of his punch, if he caught him wrong, he could seriously hurt Jake Paul. So I was just like, so this prior, this whole thing was set up. It was for entertainment purposes. And which one of these celebrity type fights is real? I don't know if any of them are real. Maybe the Jake Paul, Nate Robinson one. Was he the one that knocked out Nate Robinson?
Yeah.
Maybe that one. But come on, that's Nate Robinson. He's like my height. But Jay, you can't tell me regardless of age. We've seen not old, because we've seen upper middle aged men around 60, right? Upper middle aged men fight. I have, and I've seen them knock out young guys. So don't give me the years old. He knows how to.
I don't know. I just think like when you mention like getting hit, like I just don't think your reflexes are the same when you get that old. Like your mind thinks you can do it, but your body just doesn't react as quickly. And like think about 5 years ago, when Mike fought Roy Jones. He did not look impressive in that fight. Like neither one of them looked impressive in that fight. Now we could say, oh, it's just an exhibition, whatever, but they didn't look good. And now 4 years later, did people really think Mike was going to be great? Like, I don't know. Maybe it was rigged. Maybe it was rigged. I mean, I'm not saying that it couldn't have been, but to me, it looked like an old, tired man that did not have the stamina to be in the ring. Like,
I think he was holding punches. I think he was holding back. I think that's why we saw a lot of biting of the glove. Biting of the glove, man. I think Mike was trying to. I think he was trying to hold himself back. I think it was just an instinct for him. It was hard for him to not hit this guy, man. Like he's Mike Tyson. He could have came out like that, Jay, if it wasn't rigged. Like we've seen him in the videos. He could have came out like the first 30 seconds, however long it takes him to. Stood there, Jay, and then he hit like Britt said. He hit him with the left. He was about to follow up, but he called himself like, "Dang, I can't do this." And I think that's why we saw a lot of biting in the glove, because Mike was really holding back.
I don't know, man. I feel where you're coming from.
Nobody's looking at Mike Tyson like he's 20-year-old Mike Tyson. We know he's 60 years old. We know he's not going to move the same as if it was 40 years ago. We understand that. But what I'm saying is, he ain't that old to just be standing there. Like, come on.
I guess I'm gonna go back to my original question. Like, if we all got together and we were gonna rig a fight, wouldn't we make it entertaining? Like, wouldn't that be the first thing we would sit down and do and say, okay, how are we gonna make this entertaining?
Doesn't matter. His name brings the audience. It doesn't matter. People heard Mike Tyson and they went running. Like Mike Tyson is coming back and fight, and they went running. It doesn't matter.
I agree with that.
Yeah, the accidental punch, Jay. If it was rigged and you wanted more action, could hurt Jake. Like Britt alluded to it. So he may not have been able to hold himself back.
But I also think if you're looking at it from Jake Paul's perspective, the person who's orchestrating all this, right? Yeah. And assuming he wants to continue to put these kind of fights on, like you just can't roll a dud out there and then think, okay, I'm going to do another. Eventually people are going to be like, we're not falling for this. That's why I'm saying, if you're going to do this and you think long-term you're going to do this, make it entertaining at the very least.
Jay, hold on, Jay. Jay, have you been watching Jake Paul? All of his fights to me are duds. Every last one of them are duds. people just for some reason they like him, and then they like who he's about to fight. The last guy was what, the MMA boxer, the MMA fighter. We know MMA fighters can't fight boxing. This is like two different sports.
I agree, but I don't know.
None of these fights, to me, if we're boxing people, like we grew up. I mean, I know you guys are a little older than me, but we grew up with the heavyweight boxers. What was it normally Friday, Saturday nights, whenever they used to late night parties all the time. We used to really enjoy boxing. Now it's all about money. That's all they care about, is just the money. That's all it's about.
Y'all might be right. It might have been rigged, but I also think y'all are giving Mike more credit. I don't think Mike has as much in the tank as y'all think he does. Like,
we're not saying that. Well, I'm not saying that. I can't speak for Brett. I'm just saying I'm just simply saying that he could have given us what we seen in those videos in the beginning of that fight. If it wore him down after that, then I could say, okay, he was worn down. He doesn't have the stamina, but he at least had that in him, Jay. He did.
I thought he tried for 20 seconds. No, I really did. I thought he tried for 20 seconds. We're getting some comments on this, man.
Longer than 20 seconds. Come on now. We got to stop doing that.
Adam Hurley said, I thought he was old Tyson for 30 seconds, then he gassed out.
Dang, 30 seconds? I don't think that.
Then we got
y'all gotta stop.
We got Mike that said
exactly.
Mike didn't want to lose the bag. He had to stick to the script. So we got some different opinions in the comments, but at the end of the day, the fight was definitely disappointing. I think that's something we can all agree on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, man. It was, I walked away from it disappointed. I was definitely looking forward to it, but it definitely was not what I thought it was.
We got one more comment.
Go ahead.
Why would you need a contract fighting a 58-year-old man?
The name. Get the fame off his name.
I mean, it's contract regardless of anybody.
And it's Mike Tyson. Mike still had that. I mean, Mike could have caught him nice. Mike could have caught him nice. I'm telling you.
It's one of the biggest fights. I think the biggest fight Jake Paul has ever fought in.
I think so for sure. I think Mike definitely drew. I think the audience was probably the biggest.
And real quick before we move on, that's how you know it's a money grab. What did Mike Tyson say after the fight was over and they announced Jake Paul won? He said it to his brother, "I'll fight you too."
Yeah.
Well, money or no money. I don't want to see Mike in the ring anymore. I really don't. I don't want to see Mike in the ring. Just Mike, go back to doing interviews. Keep your mystique. Don't do this to yourself anymore, Mike. I don't want to see it. All right, y'all. Let's move on. Let's jump into some NFL stuff because there were some important games this weekend, some big games this weekend. We talked here last week about the Kansas City Chiefs and if we thought they were going to be able to maintain that undefeated streak going forward, going to Buffalo to play the Bills. I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, all three of us said that we thought they were going to lose in Buffalo. Turns out we were right. K-Walk, when you look back at that game, how do you feel? What's your breakdown on the game, and how do you feel about the Chiefs going forward?
It's just the Bills finally, with the Chiefs, things finally went the Chiefs, the opposing team's way against the Chiefs, because usually in that late game, we saw the game at late, Taylor, who gets away with a lot of false starts, who gets away with a lot of holding calls. Finally, it cost them in this particular game. We talked about being rigged. I don't know. I think it's being rigged, but when you look at the game as a whole, Josh Allen came out and kind of was Josh Allen I didn't want to see. That Superman type Josh Allen, because he had his weapons there. Amari Cooper was finally back. James Cook was playing, was doing his thing as well. The defense surprised me for the most part. But when you look at this team, a lot of people are saying this is probably the worst 9-0 team going into this game that we've seen in a long time. They didn't look like a 9-0 team. Yeah, they were winning late, costly penalties by the opposition, and then taking advantage of that, of the opportunities there. So when you look at this game and you just saw a team in the Bills that were more determined, to win, they felt like they had to get that monkey off your back, if you will, type deal. They were at home. Bills Mafia was loud and proud of that team, and I'm rooting for it of the Bills because of the fact of the matter is, I'm, as a Niner fan, I just can't stand the Chiefs. We can't beat them. I just want to see somebody else do it. But for the most part, I just think that we're not seeing that Patrick Mahomes that we've seen in the past. I mean, we've seen glimpses of him throwing backwards passes, no looks, things of that nature. But for the most part, it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough against this game. And I think when you look at the Buffalo Bills, it's a confidence booster right now. And you got to ask yourself, I know we're going to get into another game, in the AFC that took place. And you got to ask yourself, are the Bills the favorite to come out of the AFC right now?
Yeah, man. Like I'm glad you mentioned the Chiefs, like, because I didn't want to think I was crazy when I was thinking this. But you remember the Steelers a couple of years ago when I think they were like 9-0 or 10-0.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, this might be the worst 10-0 team. And like no one really believed that Pittsburgh was dangerous, even though they were undefeated. That's kind of how I was feeling about Kansas City this year. Like, even though it's a different situation, 2-time Super Bowl champ, Patrick Mahomes, all that, just the way they were winning just did not impress me. You give them credit because they were finding a way to win, but they didn't feel dangerous. They didn't feel scary to me. So that's part of the reason why I thought Buffalo would beat them. I'm not sure how confident I am in them going forward. Like in terms of completing the three-peat, I don't really see it happening. But Britt, what are your thoughts on the Chiefs? Are you surprised they lost? And then I guess how confident are you going forward in the Kansas City Chiefs?
Yo, I'm about to gloat for about 2 seconds here because I could have sworn about a few weeks ago, Jay, I don't think you was on. I think you were out doing something, but K-Walk, I believe you were on. And I said the Chiefs don't look the same to me this year.
Yeah.
I literally said that. I done got messages in my DMs. People said I was crazy. And I'm just like, it does not feel the same. They're not performing the same. And I mean, on both sides of the football, the last couple years, even if the offense wasn't super strong outside of Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, their defense will pick them up. They will really hold them. And they're holding them again this year, but it just doesn't seem the same on both sides of the football. And Jay, you don't have to go as far back as the Steelers. Just go back to last year where we said the same thing about the Philadelphia Eagles. They started off 10-1 and they were just finding ways to win. And I think each game they would win no more than it would be 6 points, maybe 7 points. It seems so much similar. Now, the difference is you do have Andy Reid, you do have Patrick Mahomes, and maybe they'll be able to figure it out. Like, I don't see them going on a 6-game losing streak towards the end of the season. First of all, their schedule is just way too easy for that. But I don't feel like a three-peat is going to be this year. I honestly don't. Patrick Mahomes is not performing, like K-Walk said, up to what we're used to seeing. Everybody was hyped up about Xavier Worthy and whatnot. And don't get me wrong, he's a decent player. He's just a speedster to me right now. Again, he's a rookie. He'll learn. But to me right now, he's just a speedster. DeAndre Hopkins, it looks like it's taking him some time to really come along. He's a fantastic talent. We all know what he's capable of doing, but things just aren't, I don't know, it's not gelling quite right now. And then that offensive line is not what it was. Like they got some cracks in this offensive line. So for me, I'm in 100% agreement. I've been saying this. It just doesn't feel the same as it did the last 2 years.
Yeah, no, I agree. And defensively, you're right, Britt. I think they've played really well on defense. I mean, I think their defense is kind of what they've been hanging their hat on. Offensively, they just have been out of sync. They haven't really found ways to get the ball to Worthy. I know this past weekend they did get him involved a little bit more, but they have just seemed off to me. But I guess K-Walk, though, I guess as long as 15 is the quarterback, I guess you really can't count him out. But he's also been kind of a little bit careless with the football this year too, as well. What is there something wrong with Mahomes, K-Walk? Is he just not playing well? Do you see him turning it around? What's your evaluation on him?
Yeah, I think they can definitely turn. You can never count these guys out. Britt mentioned it's Andy Reid, it's Patrick Mahomes, and it's Travis Kelce. Even though they've been a shell of themselves for the most part. But you mentioned it earlier, Jay. It's all about wins and losses. When we're talking about Philadelphia, so that's what it's about right now. And I think they're just playing with their food. I don't know what it is, but you look at Travis Kelce's numbers, they are way down, way down. My fantasy team could attest to that, along with Patrick Mahomes. But all seriousness, they're just not clicking, man. I don't know if they're trying to work on different things, in game. Maybe they just think they're that maybe I'm giving them too much credit, to be honest with you. But it just seems like when you don't get Travis Kelce the ball and you're in tight games, and Travis Kelce is under 50 yards receiving and under 5-6 targets. That's telling you something, because he finds a way to get open. No one really schemes for him. They try to, but Patrick Mahomes has that ability to get outside the pocket to buy time, and Travis Kelce has the knack. They have that chemistry of finding a way. You can't really scheme for that, that scramble drill, if you will. So but I think they'll be all right. I still don't think they're going to favorites. I got another team in mind. I know we'll talk about it in a moment, but I think they'll win a division. I think they'll win a division, and they'll get a number one seed. I think they'll be the number one seed. But once playoff time comes, I think we're going to see a little different Kansas City Chiefs team, because, like Britt said, their schedule favors them going forward.
Yeah. Go ahead, Britt.
I think they're beatable. Like you guys said earlier, nobody is scared of them. In my opinion, to me, they're beatable. And we haven't said that a long time about the Kansas City Chiefs. We probably really don't say it at all much. But to me, they are very beatable. And it just so happens that against the Bills, they got caught. To me, in the previous games where they should have lost, the opposing team just missed out on their opportunities between turnovers or whether the Chiefs turned the ball over, lucky field goal blocks at the end of the game.
Someone's foot too big or didn't wear the white shoe.
Exactly. No world turning a ball game at the end of the game where they should have just been able to run the clock out and ended that game. So, but the Bills said, no, not today. Y'all gonna make all those mistakes against those teams, not against us, because we're gonna take advantage of every opportunity that we have. And you're showing your true colors this year. So, and that's how I feel about them.
No, I think beatable is the perfect way to describe them. And with all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, they're still a 9-1 football team. So we don't want to rain on their parade too hard.
Look at their schedule ahead of them.
But
we did say they still got Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid.
That's right. So, all right, another huge game in the AFC. The Steelers beat the Ravens. Okay, well, I'm pretty sure you and I picked the Ravens last week, but Britt, if I remember right, I thought you said that you thought the Steelers were going to win. I'm not sure, but they did. They pulled it off. Britt, what were your thoughts on Steelers versus Ravens?
I think for me, it was a good game. I love when division matchups come down to a one-score game, a very tight game. You're not sure which way it goes. I would have liked to see a better offensive performance from the Steelers against a not so great defensive Ravens team this year. In particular, they have fantastic defensive players, but they just haven't been playing the same as haven't been that same dominant defense that they have been in the last so many years. But I'm not surprised at the Steelers defense. I knew they were going to do this. I knew they were going to slow down Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson and really cause them to struggle. And to me, the defense completely, they won this game, in my opinion. Of course, Russ did what he needed to do, at least get his team down the field. And then the kicker was fantastic. He made all the field goals. I think they scored 6 field goals to win a game. But as far as the Ravens, you got to do better, because there's no reason why. You're supposed to be this dominant team this year, scary on both sides of the football, at least the offensive side of the football, with Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, and a young Zay Flowers and so forth. And you allow the team to beat you with 6 field goals. To me, that's an issue. And if I'm being honest, I don't know if I have Lamar Jackson as my MVP anymore.
Okay. I thought the Steelers were the more physical football team. And you don't hear people say that about the Ravens a whole lot. But I thought the Steelers were the more physical football team. They brought the fight to the Ravens. And I think eventually that's what won out. But K Walk, I mean, as Britt kind of alluded to, the Ravens, like they came into this season with high hopes. I mean, they're Super Bowl or bust. Have they? I think they've lost 4 games now. I think if I'm correct on that.
Mm-hmm.
What's wrong with the Ravens, K Walk, or have they just played a difficult schedule? Is something wrong? Do you still feel confident with the Ravens? Where are you on the Ravens?
Yeah, I'm not worried about the Ravens at all right now. I just think that it's just one of those games where they just got, it was just it's a game of inches. We see that at any given Sunday, all those cliches, all those cliches that you could think of. You could throw them in this particular conversation, because of the fact of the matter is, like Britt said, 6 field goals, 18 points should not win you a football game in the NFL, especially when you're going against the league's MVP candidate, leading MVP candidate, Brittany. But yeah, I just think that I have to agree with you, Jay. I think it came down to the physicality of the game, and I thought that what TJ Watt was doing some things. I thought Lamar Jackson was playing just a little bit too much with his food, if you will, and it ultimately cost him that game. He still had an opportunity in there, but I think sometimes Lamar gets too comfortable with the scrambling and things of that nature, instead of just taking off. And I know he's trying to buy time for his receivers to get open, but I think that cost him the game. But I think this is my favorite. This is my favorite to come out of the AFC along with Buffalo. I think these two teams will meet each other in the AFC Championship. I think they'll turn it around. Not turn it around, meaning the Ravens. I think they'll get back on track. I believe in Todd Monken as Lamar Demetrius Jackson does. So I think they'll get that offense rolling, and they'll understand that this loss, they can't play like they did. They have to out-physical teams. They have to be who they are, and I think that's what they will ultimately do and get to the AFC Championship and ultimately to the Super Bowl, in my opinion.
Yeah, the Steelers are 8-2. The Ravens are 7-4. So Steelers have a pretty comfortable position right now in the AFC North. But Britt, to me, there's still some questions about Pittsburgh. Like you guys mentioned, kicking 6 field goals, that's not going to be enough when the going really gets tough. If I said to you the Steelers are 8-2, but they're not a legitimate Super Bowl contender, would you agree or disagree with that statement?
This is tough. I want to say I agree, but I also want to say I disagree. I think they have a legitimate Super Bowl contending defense, and that to me is what's pushing them through a lot of these games. I think the offense still needs to find their way a little bit. They have some great talent at the receiver position. I'm still not sure about Najee Harris as a running back. I'm still up and down with Najee Harris and in the offensive line. But it's so hard to go against Mike Tomlin. I think he's the key to all of this. But for some reason, deep in me, I have them beating either the Bills or the Ravens in the playoffs. I think they're going to meet one of them. And I really honestly think, I don't know if they're a Super Bowl contending team as far as the offense and how they're playing at this point in time. But boy, do they hold on and they win these games, I guess you can say. And it's that daggone defense. I think we really only seen them slip up one time. And that was, I think, their last game or a few games or so ago, where they allowed the team to have a certain amount of points. But it's hard to go against that defense. And I think that defense can hold not only the Ravens, I think they could hold the Bills, and I think they could hold the Chiefs. And then I think the offense can get you enough points to win. Now, that doesn't mean I have them coming out of the AFC, because technically I don't. I just think they have the ability to beat these teams. Right. And they have shown that already, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, obviously they're going to hang their hat on that defense. My fear with the Steelers is if they run into a team that gets hot one Sunday afternoon and scores 28 or 31 points, are they going to be able to match that? And that's kind of my concern with Pittsburgh. But K-Walk, when you look at Pittsburgh, are they a legitimate Super Bowl contender, or do you see them as more as a team that has kind of overachieved, but they're not going to be there in the end?
No, I'm not going to call them over achievers by any stretch, Jay. I think this team is exactly who they are, and I think it's just a defense that keeps them in the game, and an offense that has the ability to win the game. But I don't have confidence in Russell Wilson in the big game down the stretch. The reason why, because his number one receiver is a head case. I'm talking about George Pickens. I don't try. I think he'll mess up in the wrong at the wrong time. From a mental standpoint, emotional standpoint, he's just one of those guys that just, if he doesn't get the ball, if he doesn't eat, if you will, he's going to let you know, and he's going to cause a problem there. I know they have other weapons with the tight end. Britt, I kind of agree with you with Najee Harris. Najee Harris has the talent to get it done, but for some reason or another, it's not there. He has the potential, and you know what they say about potential. It'll get a coach fired real quick. But yeah, I say all that, but I do believe in that defense. Led by T.J. Watt. You got Michael Fitzpatrick back there as well. So I think they're a great complementary defense that will keep you in the game. I just don't think that Russell Wilson and that offense can get him over the hump. And I do like Arthur Smith. Don't get me wrong. I like his offense, but I just, for some reason or another, Russell Wilson just doesn't do it for him. I think he holds onto the ball too long. I know he's a great deep ball thrower, but again, George Pickens is that guy who's supposed to stretch your field for you, but sometimes he just gets in his own head. So I say all that to say, they're definitely not overachievers. They're right where they belong. Their record says who they are. But I just think I don't think they'll go far. I think they'll make it a divisional win and a round win, and that'll be a wild card win. I'm sorry, a wild card win.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say about Russ. I think he holds the ball too long as well, and maybe when he was younger he got away with it because he had a little bit more escapability. Yeah. He's a step slower now, and people are grabbing him by the ankles, and he just can't get away anymore. So he's got to get rid of the ball. And to your guys' point, Najee Harris, it's just hard to be that kind of running back now, where every single run he's fighting for his life. Yeah. He's got to run 2-3 people over just to get a few yards. It's just hard to be that kind of running back in the NFL. So yeah, I feel you guys on that.
I will say this, and K-Walk said it earlier. Their defense, as we said, is outstanding. They have a star on every level of that defense.
Absolutely.
Which to me is fantastic. But I will say this. The one team I think they can beat, and people are going to get on me for saying this, I definitely think they could beat the Kansas City Chiefs. And I said it right here, right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think their defense could definitely give the Chiefs offense a lot of problems. So, and maybe we'll get to see that.
And Joey Porter Jr. better stop holding, Jay. Too.
He's been holding since he's been in college. He's been holding since Penn State, and he ain't never stopped. Every play he holds. All right, let me get this one in before we go to a quick break. Britt, your Philadelphia Eagles have taken control of the NFC East. A big win against the Commanders the other night. How you feeling about your Eagles, Britt?
No, I mean, I'm feeling good. I think the defense has been playing amazing. I think they showed everybody who the Commanders really are. Because look, let me tell you something. I was cool with the Commanders. I have no issues. They're not the Cowboys. It is what it is. But they just started talking too much. Shut up. Shut up. Your team got exposed. Now shut it up. And go back to where you came from for the last 85,000 years. No, they're still a good team though, and they are in our division. But no, I think they've improved, which I like to see. I'd rather have a slow start at the beginning of the season and the team progresses and gets better versus last year was the complete opposite. But my highlights or my favorite part of this team has to be the defense, in my opinion, especially the young guys and Quinyon Mitchell and Rookie DeJean. They have been balling out, especially Quinyon Mitchell, who has anybody comes to his side, he's not scared and he does his best to lock down as much as he possibly can. Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry is what they call him. He wasn't so scary going against the rookie. And even he came out and said, that's not a rookie. I don't know who that kid is, but that's not a rookie. Offensively, yes. Do they have some things to work on? Absolutely. I think consistency for me is a big thing. One game, you lights out, and then, you keep that on for a couple games, and then the next game, you're struggling. But what I like to see is in the fourth quarter, they show up and show out. And the MVP of the team, I would have to say, is Saquon Barkley of the team.
Yeah, I think Saquon erases a lot of mistakes. Like he's just that kind of player where he can clean up a lot of things. K-Walk, I got 2 questions for you. One, if I said the Eagles have the best roster in football, would you agree with that? And then 2, do you still think the Commanders are going to win the NFC East?
To answer the first question first, yes, I do think they have the best roster. Because there are a lot of teams out there that don't have their full roster. That's the reason being. So yes, absolutely, man. I mean, with the addition of Saquon Barkley, when you look at what he provides and everything that's around Jalen Hurts, you have to say that you look around the league. You look at the Detroit Lions. I'm just going from top to bottom, my favorites right now. You look around the league, you got the Lions. You can't even put the 49ers in there right now because of the way that they're playing, and they're without a couple of guys. So you got the Lions. Who else is in those division outside of Philly? But yeah, I think you have to put them number 1 there without question. 2, I think with a healthy Jaden Daniels, a lot of people aren't talking, and a lot of people aren't making excuses either. That Jaden Daniels was hurt in that game last Thursday night, but he's not going to make excuses. And then some of those throws he couldn't make because of that rib. A lot of his stuff was coming up short. But if they're not making excuses, I'm not making excuses. But with the healthy Jaden Daniels, I use that to say with a healthy Jaden Daniels, I think they can still win
like
that division.
Commanders.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I do.
Okay. All right. Let's do this, guys.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Britt. Go ahead. I saw you kind of side.
I do. That's me, Britt. That's my thought. That's my thought. He asked me what I thought. Okay, he asked me what I thought, though, Britt.
I would disagree with that. The reason nobody said that the last couple games when they was one, then nobody, because he messed up his ribs like 3 games or so ago. Nobody said that when they was on that win streak. The moment they come up against a division team that's better than them, and I'm not going to say I do have them splitting this year. I'm going to be honest. I said that from the beginning. I have them splitting this year. All of a sudden now he was hurt. He's this, and it's not just you, K-Walk. I'm not coming at you. I've heard it a lot. I'm like, y'all didn't say that last week. Y'all didn't say that 2 weeks ago. Y'all didn't say that 3 weeks ago. So no, that defense played them very, very, very well. So if that's what people want to say, then fine. I'ma just disagree with it. Let's go.
No rebuttal, K-Walk.
Oh, I already said what I said.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure everybody got their stuff
with a healthy Jaden Daniels, they would need. That's what I'm saying.
All right, hey, to be continued. This is going to play itself out. It's going to be a lot of fun. I wasn't that high on Philly early, but I'm buying now. Like if I was buying stock, I'm buying Philly stock 100%.
You have to.
All right, let's do this. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk about K-Walk's 49ers and take the pulse of that team and kind of where they are. We're going to give our opinion on who's the best team in the NFC and AFC. We got some NBA topics to talk about, some college football stuff to get into. We got a whole lot more sports to talk about, so stick with us. Britt, I think you got to cut out here, right? If I'm correct.
I'm having too much fun. I'll be all right.
You're gonna hang around for a little longer. Okay. All right. So quick break, and then we'll be right back. You're listening to the Sideline Speaks with Brittany Jones, Kevin Walker, and Jason Collins.
Hi, this is Coach Brian Baker, and you are watching the Sideline Speaks.
Hello, this is Marvin Lewis, and you're watching the Sideline Speaks with Brittany Jones, Jason Collins, and Kevin Walker. They're taking a break, and they will be right back.
Welcome back to the Sideline Speaks. Brittany Jones, Kevin Walker, and Jason Collins. Do us a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to grow the channel. Anything you can do to help us, we greatly appreciate it. K-Walk, your 49ers, man, they suffered a tough loss on Sunday, losing a heartbreaker to the Seahawks. This is just not, I mean, they've had every injury that you can think of. If it could go wrong, it has gone wrong for San Francisco this year. How concerned are you, K-Walk? Because I remember, back in the summer in August, you said, look, this team's winning the Super Bowl this year. Now I know you can't predict injury, and no one probably would have.
But I did say
if healthy.
Barring major injuries.
Yeah, and they've had quite a few. So just in terms of getting to the playoffs, making a playoff run, like where is your level of concern right now with your 49ers?
I just think the level of concern right now is the health, man. I mean, when one person comes back, another person goes down. It's just that thing right now, Jen. And there's no excuses by any stretch of imagination when it comes to injury. I'm not using it. They're not using it. It's a reason, though. It is a reason because, you have the same team, on paper for the most part, coming in. You have the McCaffreys, you have the Debos, you have the Brock Purdy's, the list goes on and on. But when they're not all playing together, and then you lose Brandon Ayuk, to a season knee injury, and then you got some guys, Dre Greenlaw as well. Again, it's no excuse, ladies and gentlemen, by any stretch of the imagination. But when you lose your best players, you're not going to be the same team. You're just not going to be the same team. So it's just, hopefully we can get these guys. Outside of Brandon Ayuk, everyone is scheduled to come back at some point. So with that being said, the way the division is, I know we're last in the division right now, because, it's a numbers thing, but I think we win a division, which I'm very confident in. We could go on that particular run, that we've seen them do. Now it's going to be tough, man, because those other teams above them are playing good. We're playing decent ball, but they do play them again. So they have each and every one of those teams again. But it starts with this week, man. It starts with the Green Bay Packers, and they're, these guys are ready to go. When you look at their losses, they're losing, by 2-3 points, one possession games. They're one possession games that they give up late, for whatever reason, penalties, whatever, and that doesn't help either. And another concern for me are our special teams. Our special teams has really been hurting us, kickers going down. We're on our second punter right now. We had 3 kickers this year, making bonehead mistakes on, with the return games and things of that nature. So there's so many things you could be concerned in, but they're other than the health aspect of it, everything is fixable, to be perfectly honest with you. And I think, you have so much talent and you have the depth that they had. They have to be a team that, that has to be the next man up, if you will. So it's just all about not beating themselves, because if you look at their games, if you go back and look at their games, a lot of it they beat themselves. But those are the only concerns that I have.
Yeah, and man, if there's ever a year for things to go wrong, like if you look at the division, like the Cardinals are leading at 6-4, and everyone else is 5-5. So they're right in the thick of things. For as disastrous as all the injuries have been, they're right in the thick of things. I thought I read today, K-Walk, that Purdy's now dealing with some injury. Is that true?
Yeah, it's shoulder soreness, man. It's nothing. It's just, they have to put him. Yeah, they have to put him on the injury report, but it's nothing to be concerned with.
Okay, gotcha. Britt, let me ask you this, and then I'm gonna swing back around and get K-Walk's thoughts on it. I saw somebody like in the national media this week on a very popular ESPN show say that he felt like the 49ers were cooked, that they were done, that their season was basically over. How do you feel about that statement?
I don't know. I don't know. I think if you're within basically 1 or 2 games within your division, I don't know if you're done or cooked. Do I feel as confident this year in the 49ers? Probably not. Do I think it feels the same for them? For me watching them, probably not. I do feel like there's something off. I don't. And to me on both sides of the football, I just don't look at them as being scary anymore. I don't think teams are playing them and are be like, oh my goodness, this is the big bag scary 49ers that have been going through everybody for the last, I don't know how many years it's been. It's been a very, very long time. I think teams say, you know what, you're just another team. I think we could take you now. Not saying that they're not a good team when healthy. I think they are a very good team still. I just think, I don't know. I just don't get that same, when you're going up against a Kyle Shanahan offense. And maybe that is part of the injuries potentially, but
Yeah.
I can recall just a couple years ago, we were all saying it didn't matter who Kyle Shanahan had on that offense. His offense is so dynamic. It's going to run through any and everybody. I mean, talent does matter, but his offense is that great. And I'm starting not to feel the same this year. Now, that could possibly change next year. They'll be healthy. Again, I'm not sure. But then again, a lot of teams have been unhealthy. So it's normal around this time of the season, but they have gotten a lot of injuries, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, but you just got to deal with what you're with what the cards that you're dealt. So I don't know if they're out again. Is one game. I think they're one game, maybe two. If you
Yeah.
lose the division, it might be considered like two, I guess. So technically, no. But if they get in, they'll be getting in on that wild card, that very end in the hunt. I still
Yeah.
see them in the hunt.
Okay. Okay. Well,
If they,
let me go ahead,
if
Britt.
they lose to the Cardinals again or another division game, then I may have them out. But until then, I still got them in the hunt.
Okay. Well, let me ask it to you this way, because I think, and you can tell me this if you disagree, but I think 49er fans probably feel like that over the last several years that the 49ers had the ball maybe bounced a different way, had a call gone a different way, could have at least 2, maybe 3 Super Bowls. Like I think 49er fans believe that. You tell me if that's not true, but that's what I think. But I also think like teams have like a window, you know what I mean? And like when you don't win in those years where maybe you have the best team, but something just goes wrong. And then you have the best team again and something goes wrong. You have the best team and somebody gets hurt. Like, is it possible that that window that was wide open for San Francisco and they didn't get it done for whatever reason, is the window closing on their Super Bowl opportunity, in your opinion?
Maybe for this year, Jay, but I don't know how long we're talking about that window going to be closed.
Okay.
For this year, you can say you can honestly say, and you'll be a fool to think otherwise. You could be a fool as much as I'm a diehard 49er fan. I know that they don't look like that team. Britt mentioned it, alluded to it, and we don't look like that team. We just don't. I mean, for whatever reason, again, it could be injuries. It could be whatever reasons, a team that the league is caught up with the 49ers, whatever you want to say, but the window is closing for this season. But you always reload or rebuild, or well, we're not going to rebuild, but a team like this, an organization like this, they reload and they'll just go out there and make a trade here, draft a guy here to replace these guys. And it's not so much, the organization's window's closing. It's this particular roster's window is closing. And I just think that they have the ability. They've shown, that they can bring in McCaffrey's, they can bring in Trent Williams and things of that nature, and draft Bosa's. Look, Kittle's a 4th, 5th round guy. The list goes on and on. Debo is as well. So, they find talent. So this year, it doesn't look good at all. And you'll be a fool, 49er fan or otherwise, to think that they have their favorite or they're going to, we're hoping just to win a division, to get in, and then anything else can happen. But to answer the question, Jay, yeah, I think this particular roster's window may be closing, but not the organization. I think they'll bounce back.
I like how you put that. I hadn't thought about it like that, because you're right. It could be a window closing on this particular roster, but the pedigree of this organization, they have a plan. They're already thinking about what the next move is going to be. So no, I definitely agree with that. Britt, who's your best team in the NFC right now and your best team in the AFC right now, if you had to pick?
Real quick, before we get to that, I do have a quick question about the 49ers.
Yep.
How is it going to be? Because are you going to pay Brock Purdy, Or are you like, do you think, because he's next in line, he's the quarterback that's considered next in line, does he get paid? Because the way Dak Prescott looked as a $60 million man, do you then pay him $60 million? Or do you think Brock Purdy will say, you know what, I really like this team, is more money than I got now, so I'm willing to accept, a decent amount and stay on the team? Or do San Fran be like, you know what, he's not our quarterback for the future? I'm not. So to me, depending, I think that contract may have something to say as well, on how some way, somehow this direction of the team decides to go. Quarterback's contract is going to always impact your team in some way or another, whether we like it or not. It just does. So I think that's going to be a big question mark, because I think he has to get paid this offseason, right? Or is that next year?
He doesn't have to, but they're looking. There already talks about him being paid next year to avoid having go into him sitting out and things of that nature, because we've seen the last 3 seasons the 49ers have been devastated by holdouts. So but there are talks that him getting paid next year, but they don't have to pay him next year.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think, and K-Walk, tell me if this is wrong, but Brock Purdy's their guy, right? Like they're not thinking about moving off of him, right?
I don't understand why you would think that, because of the fact of the matter is the team is having one off season, if you will, and what happened to Dak. I mean, that's Dak. That was their Dak. Dak was their guy. Injuries happen. We just paid Brandon Ayuk, and look what happened. I mean, it could happen, and that's the chance that you take. But yeah, to answer your questions, Britt, Brock Purdy is their guy. He will be paid. We hope he takes a hometown discount, but why would you? Because he's performing. He's his first 3 years, or his first 3 years, or first 2 years, I should say. He's gotten him to an NFC championship. He's gotten him to a Super Bowl. Things don't look good as of right now, but I mean, he's earned that. If anybody earns $60 million a year, the way that the market is going, it's Brock Purdy, because what he's done in a short period, the accomplishments that he's had in a short period of time. Now, I don't know if you were alluding to it, Britt, but there's some guys that we may have to reconstruct some deals. If they're not willing to, then we got to move on from them. And that's just the bottom line. But we got to pay Brock, and we got to get some big time guys in here for sure.
Britt, do you view Brock as a $60 million man? Or would you, if you were running that organization, would you want to keep him but for less, or do you feel like we got to do whatever we got to do to keep this guy as our quarterback?
I'm the type of, I mean, if I could call Fruit a friend regardless, but if being honest, I will hope that he's willing to take a hometown discount, because I don't know what other quarterbacks are out there that they feel like can run the Kyle Shanahan offense, I guess, effectively. But I don't know. Brock Purdy's a good quarterback. I don't think Dak Prescott's a $60 million guy.
Yeah,
I really think there may be 2 quarterbacks in the league that are $60 million guys. But like everybody says, that's the way the market goes. But when you speak your truth and your honesty, people get uptight. So my opinion, no, is Brock Purdy.
I don't think he's I don't think any quarterback is a $60 million guy.
Absolutely
but
not.
The fact of the matter is that we're definitely not thinking about moving on. I don't think that's an option.
Right. So no, I don't think he's a $60 million man. If they could get him for less, go for it. But if you got a good agent,
no quarterback is worth $60 million a year. No quarterback.
If they got a good agent, they're gonna have to cough up that money, and unfortunately, it's going to potentially, if they depending on how they structure the contract, it could potentially impact your team. So that's why you got to draft well, and that's why you see a lot of people who pay their quarterbacks, they go younger on the opposit side of the football, and you just hope that it works out better.
It's gonna be interesting, but they're gonna pay him. They're gonna have to, and I think they're gonna do it sooner than later too.
Yeah,
I think they like him, and I just think there's not that many QBs just falling off of trees out there. So if you feel like you got a decent one that you like, I think you got to try to hold on to him.
Mikey, the market's not going to dictate that.
Yeah, 30 or 40. I don't see that happening.
He's going to make more than Daniel Jones. Like, come on now.
Yeah.
The market. You look at the market. He's
Daniel got 40
That's 4 or 5 years ago money right there. He
Yeah.
ain't taking that. He's not taking
Daniel
that
Jones
amount.
got 45. Like, come on, like,
And they wouldn't even disrespect him by giving him that offer.
right
Yeah.
now, that's being disrespectful.
Yeah, right. Disrespect me though. You can disrespect me with that.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Oh yeah, shoot,
I'll take it.
Give me
Britt,
10.
all right, let's get back to it. Who's your best team in the AFC and best team in the NFC as it stands right now? Who you got?
Oh my goodness, the AFC is going to be a little bit more complicated. So I'll start with the NFC. I got the Lions right now. The Lions to
Okay.
me are clicking on all cylinders. I know they had that one game against who did they play last week? I can't remember. Texans. The Texans.
It
was the Texans where Jared Goff had 5 turnovers and they still somehow was able to pull it out. To me, that spoke more about the Texans than it did the Lions. And I had to have a conversation with my man D'Amico Ryans because we can't have that type of game anymore. That was a disgrace, and I think he understands that. So we all good. But for me, for sure, the NFC is the Lions right now until somebody can prove otherwise. They're just on both sides of the football. My goodness, you thought they would take a hit when they lost Chris Hutchinson, but they still been playing great. Now they did lose, I think, one of their top linebackers. I think it was a linebacker, one of their captains.
Yeah,
so he's out 6 to 8 weeks, I believe. So we'll see how that pans out. But they have Smith coming in, or he came in. So them running backs, my goodness. But let me not go too long. AFC. I guess if I had to choose right now, I'm going to say the Bills right now. If I had to choose, I think they have to be healthy, but the addition of Amari Cooper has been fantastic. Josh Allen has been playing lights out, even when he has been playing hero ball. And I'm with K-Walk. I don't like when he feels the need to play that type of game. But the difference with him this year, he has kept them turnovers down. He doesn't have a whole lot of turnovers, and he's just been playing smarter with that football. And the defense, although I'm not super high up on the defense, they've been doing what they need to do to ensure they help that offense get the victory. So I'm impressed with this Bills team this year, but let's see if they can keep it up throughout the playoffs because that's what matters the most.
Yeah. Look, I don't disagree with your Lions pick at all. I think most people would probably say the Lions, and I don't even think that's the wrong pick. But just to be different, I'm going to take the Eagles because sort of what we talked about earlier. I really think the Eagles have the most talented roster in football,
Don't do that
offensively and defensively. I really do, Britt. And I think Saquon is going to be Saquon's going to be the X factor. Saquon's going to be the difference maker. And as long as they can sort of keep it together, I think they're the best team in the NFC. And I'm gonna go a little different in the AFC too. And again, I don't even disagree with the Bills. I think that's a very good pick. But can I throw the Los Angeles Chargers into the mix a little bit? They're 7-3, but they're playing really good football. Jim Harbaugh has them playing really excellent football. They are well coached. They're physical. They run that offense that Harbaugh's been running forever, and they're playing good football. They're in second place behind the Chiefs at 9-1, but I really think the Chargers are going to be in this thing late. I'm not saying they're going to win it all, but I think they're going to be in it late. So give me the Eagles and the Chargers. K-Walk, who you got?
Yeah, I got in the NFC. I guess you got to go with the Lions, especially the way that they came off of that win, this past weekend against the Jags. Now, and right behind them closely are the Eagles. You got to say the Eagles here, but this is the thing with these two teams are the coaches, man. The coaches are their Achilles heel for both of these teams because you got the aggressiveness or too much aggressiveness by Dan Campbell, and then you got Nick Sirianni, who sometimes looked like he couldn't coach himself out of a paper bag, because of some of the questions that some of the decisions that he makes. So both of these teams, although they're talented, although they're both the most talented teams and they're playing the best football right now, their coaches are. So I'm going to give them 1 and 1A. You can flip a coin and take whomever you want there. But I do agree with you. The Eagles do have the best roster, and Saquon Barkley. Now Britt, I don't know if that's a safe thing to say because remember we said that last year about the 49ers. Look what happened there. So, you know, and I guess if you're good with going to the Super Bowl and losing to the Super Bowl, then you know that's the route to go there. But it's also could be a
Knock
jinx
on
as well.
wood, K-Walk.
Yeah, I'm not knocking on wood because I don't want to see anybody go there but my team. But
don't Saquon.
What?
No,
What's that? Oh, now see, this is what I'm talking about. See, these same time last year we talked about these Eagles were talking. They were hazing this dude. Now they're praising him, and so many people asked me, "What did my the Eagle fans were killing Saquon last year?" Come on now, but in the AFC, I'm sticking with my Ravens, man. I'm sticking with I call them my Ravens because
Okay.
I am a big time Lamar Demetrius Jackson fan, ladies and gentlemen. He's the only quarterback that I would love to have with the 49ers if it wasn't for Brock Purdy. But I think he gets it done. I think he's tired of playing second fiddle, coming up short. Again, whatever cliche saying, adjective you want to use there. I think Todd Monken gets them over the hump there. So I like the Baltimore Ravens coming out of the AFC. But if I had to take one from the NFC, I'm going to sound like a hater. I'm going to take the Eagles. I'm going to take the Eagles just so I can get the Eagle fans off my back for just at least a week. So Eagles and Lions right now. I mean, Eagles and the Ravens. Excuse me. All birds.
Go ahead, Britt.
I will say the reason why I can't put the Chargers in there. Did we watch last game against the Bengals? That to me, and I knew they were going to win. But you cannot allow, you can't do that against a Ravens. You cannot do that against the Bills. You cannot do that against the Chiefs. I don't even think you could. Well, the Steelers, their defense probably won't allow you to score that much. But at least those three teams, you cannot do that against. They scored, what was it, 24 to something, and then allowed the Bengals to come, 27 something, allowed them to come all the way back to tie the ball game. You can't do that against the top tier teams. They're going to beat you every single time.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair point. The only thing I would say is I think the Bengals, even though their record doesn't show it, the Bengals are a lot better than maybe people think they are. But I agree. I mean, when you got a team down, you got to put them away. I just like the way I just like how they're playing offensive football. I think offensively they're just a really difficult team to stop. Okay, Walk, my only thing with your Ravens, they're just a little bit behind the 8 ball, and 3 out of their next 4 games, they play the Chargers, who I just talked about. They play the Eagles, who we all agreed had the best roster in football, and they play the Steelers. That they get a little break with the Giants in there.
Yep.
But 3 out of their next 4, they better figure out a way to win those games. Because
and remember, those teams got to play the Ravens too.
That's true.
That's true. So I'm just simply saying.
My fear with the Ravens is that they're 7-4 though, so they don't have
get
as
it done,
much
man.
wiggle
I got
room maybe as some of
Let's
these
not,
other teams.
let's not sit here and disrespect them Giants. Okay, they got a chance.
I guess everybody has a chance, but
I'm
I'm putting that one in the win column for the Ravens.
Yeah, for sure.
They got a chance.
All right, y'all. Let's shift gears. Let's spend a little time talking about the NBA. The Cleveland Cavaliers are 15-0. I've been peeking at the score. Last I saw was halftime. They were down 65-48. I don't know what the score is currently.
79-63.
79-63. So it's good we're talking about it right now because by the end of the show, they might not be undefeated anymore. But my question, K-Walk, is are the Cavs that good? They're 15-0. They're off and running. Are they that good? Is this a serious contender in the NBA right now?
You know what, Jay? It's the same. The age-old saying, your record says who you are. So, if you're 15-0, that's saying something, Jay, in the NBA. And if you look at some of the teams that started off at least 15-0, they've gone on and win. Well, I don't know about the Golden State Warriors. I don't think they won the championship.
I think they lost that year.
I think that year. All right, but they were there. They were in the NBA Finals. So, yeah. So they went on to win the go on to the NBA Finals appearance at least. I don't see it, Jado, but it's kind of like what we talked about with the Chiefs and sometime back with the Steelers. even though they're undefeated, they just don't look like a legitimate undefeated team.
Yes.
But they're playing well. So I think it's starting to show right now. You know, the cream is rising to the top, the dust is settling. I have a bunch of cliches in that page. I don't know what it is. But yeah, we're seeing them down 16 right now. And I think, you know, Tatum and those guys are starting to show them that, you know, they're still the best in the East, at least right now. So I think the dust will settle, Jay, and I think we'll start to see them come back to the pack, if you will. So I don't think they're the best team in the East or the league or even the East for that matter. So no, I don't think they're that good.
Yeah, K-Walk, I'm gonna steal one of your lines for this one. I feel like you would say it's cute. It's cute that they're 15-0. I'm gonna steal your line there because even though they're 15-0 is great, I look at it as just being cute. I don't really believe in them. I think the Celtics are showing them tonight. Listen, there's levels to this thing, and we're on a different level than you guys. So 15-0 is good. Yeah, hey, I'll even give them one of the better teams in the East.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like this is necessarily a dangerous team if we're talking about NBA championships. To me, I don't have them in that category. It's cute. But Britt, what do you say about the Cavs at 15-0?
I agree. It's cute. No, I just like we say this all the time with football. When the beginning of the season starts, give teams a certain amount of games to really, get a feel for the offense, the defense, especially if they have new coordinators, if they have new teammates, allow them to get a feel for one another, build that chemistry up. And basketball, to me, it takes closer to about 25 games, maybe 30 at sometimes.
Yeah.
For you to really build that chemistry with your teammates. Like right now, they are all familiar with one another. They may have added one or two additions in the offseason, nothing to really impact the core of that team. So they have that. They could gel. They gel much faster right now. But there's been a couple of games where they probably should have lost. It's just that who they were going against, maybe it could have been experience, maybe it was just a new team, new coach, whatever it may have been. But look, it's cute. They playing good fundamental basketball, but let's be real, when you come to the playoffs, that's a whole nother monster. So I have them as a playoff team, but now you got to go up against Boston. Now you got to go up against some more experienced teams. And look, I got them going to at least the second round. So, and that's about it. I don't think they're going to go too much further.
All right, so we're all on the same page with that one. Let's kind of go to the opposite end of the spectrum, K-Walk. Like the Bucks are a team. I think they're 4-9 right now. I think this was probably a team coming into the season that people felt like would have been one of the better teams in the East. There just seems like there's a lot of drama around this team right now as well. But they're 4-9. I guess my question is, are they this bad? Or do you see the Bucks kind of getting this thing turned around and moving in the right direction?
Yeah, the latter part of that question, Jay. I think you have to look at these two guys. They're competitors, meaning Damian Lillard and Giannis, and what they have there. I think they get it done, man. Like we mentioned, it's early in the season when we talk about the Sixers. Even though they're a 2-11 team right now, they're not a 2-11 team. They're just not a 2-11 team, and this team is not a. Would you say they're 4-7?
4-9, I think.
4-9. And it's early, and then it's early, like Britt alluded to it as well. There's just even though the records are like not as great, or they don't have the winning records, the separation between I think 3 and 8 is 2-3 games. So they have an opportunity, and I think they get it turned around as well. So they're definitely not as bad as their record indicates. So I definitely think they get it turned around and get back above, get to 500, and then take off from there.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like they'll get it figured out and make a run. But Britt, obviously your guy, Doc Rivers, is coaching this basketball team, right? Doc's the coach of the Bucks, right? Do you put any of this on Doc? Do you put all of it on Doc, Britt? What's going on with the Bucks and Doc Rivers?
First of all, Doc is not my guy. I have respect for Doc. Don't get me wrong. I think he is a fantastic coach about 10 years ago.
Okay.
But this is not the era for him. I think his time has passed. But I forgot the daggone question because you threw me off with that.
No, just your thoughts on the Bucks.
Golly.
Are they as bad as they seem, or will they turn it around?
I don't think they're as bad as they seem, I guess, to answer the question honestly. But I don't know if I could put them up with the top 3 or 4 teams neither. I just don't think it's a chemistry thing to me, and this has been going on since last season, and that's my issue. Like the same issues they've had last season has come into this season, and you hear the players talk about it. You know, Giannis, they're talking about if things don't turn around, Giannis is ready to request a trade.
Yeah.
That shouldn't even be. You shouldn't be having discussions about that right now. About trade talk already. You know, Dame Lillard already, has come out multiple times and said he doesn't feel comfortable with certain things, or, he may not necessarily like how certain things, are ran within the offense. And so it's just like, you don't want to hear this. I think they're at least a play-in team. I will say that. I just don't. I don't know if I could put them with the top 3 or 4 teams in the NBA in the Eastern Conference. I have to see it to believe it. I just think they made too many mistakes along the way. First and foremost, you didn't have to switch your head coach out last year. I know there were certain things you probably didn't like them, but we all don't like maybe somebody we had to work for or work under. But that doesn't mean he's bad. They're bad at what they do. Maybe the personalities just don't click, or you go and trade Drew Holiday to get Damian Lillard. I think that was a big mess up, in my opinion. One of the better, to me, the better two-way guys in the league. And then Middleton, he's getting old. Let's be real. You're still depending on Middleton. He's not the same player, and we know for sure he's not the same player. So, yeah.
And K-Walk, we talked about like bad karma with the Jets for kind of the way they did their coach. What about the Bucks? Like they did Griffin wrong. They were winning. They were doing great. They bring in Doc, and it has not been the same since. So maybe a little bit of bad karma for the Bucks as well.
That's how you got to look at it, Jay, because look what's going on in New York, as you mentioned it. But you gotta ask yourself as ownership, did I do the right thing? Now I got to do right by this guy if I want to get things back on track. So Great call there.
It's interesting. All right, let's jump over to some college sports, guys, to kind of wrap this thing up. A little bit of college football, a little bit of NCAA women's basketball, and then we'll get out of here. But we got a big game on Saturday. Brits, Ohio State Buckeyes, number 2 team in the country, taking on the number 5 Indiana Hoosiers. This is a big game. It's at home for Ohio State. There's a lot of questions about Indiana right now. People are saying they haven't played anybody. They're not as good. I feel like I don't necessarily need to see you play a great team to tell if you're like a good football team. Like they're well coached. They play a good brand of football. I think Indiana's better than people are probably giving them credit for. Not saying I think they're going to beat Ohio State, but I have a feeling that game's going to be more competitive than people probably think it is. But K-Walk, what are your thoughts? Give me a preview and prediction on Indiana versus Ohio State.
Yeah, I want to know what quarterback we're going to get from Ohio State and Howard. I want to know if he's going to be that guy. Is he going to be that guy? Because if he's that guy, then I think Ohio State runs away with this match. I wholeheartedly believe that they're the best team in the country. Regardless, I know Oregon's playing well, and they got the Heisman candidate in Gabriel. They're undefeated. They're number 1. All that good stuff. But on paper, in my opinion, I think Ohio State is the best team in the country. Now, it doesn't look like it because of the fact of the matter the way Howard's been playing. We saw that game against Oregon, and that bonehead mistake that he made, at the last play of the game. Now, I'm a glass half full type of guy. So I say we get the best of Howard's going to give you. So with that being said, I'm going to take Ohio State, and nothing against Indiana. It's not going to be a blowout or any stretch of the imagination. I know they're playing in the shoe. And I know Indiana's going to come, and they have that saying, or whatever moxie they're going to use. We are, what our record says we are. We've been using that term a lot tonight as well. So I think they go out there and they make it a game, but I think ultimately Ohio State and those guys, They run away with it, not run away with it, but they close it out at the end. So I like Ohio State here, and a 27, I'll say 27-20. 27-20 game. Late touchdown gives them the victory here.
Okay,
for
so
Ohio State.
respectable
Yeah,
for
yeah.
Indiana for sure. Britt, how you feeling about your Buckeyes this weekend?
I think K-Walk made all the points that I was thinking of, to be honest with you. My only concern with Ohio State is the quarterback. What version of Howard are we going to get? Is he going to make the boneheaded mistakes that cost him a game against Oregon, or
Yep.
almost cost him a few other games that maybe we're not mentioning right now? Or are we going to get the Howard that's you're like, wow, okay, we see why Ohio State went to go get this guy? Because to me, like K-Walk said, they got all the talent surrounding him, all the talent surrounding him. The receiving core is outstanding. The running back is great. As much as I can't stand this guy, but Chip Kelly has been doing his thing. He's always been an offensive-minded guy. He just should have stayed in college. I think this will be a big game for the defense as well. Indiana scores a lot of points. A lot of points. So the defense is really going to have to step up. The corners are going to have to step up. I can't think of his name right now, but sometimes the one corner, he's a little touchy grabby at times. And that irritates me. But I agree, like they hasn't played, and you could say whatever you want about Indiana, about them not really playing anybody, but let's be real. Isn't that what you're supposed to beat down on the teams that you're way better at? So that to me, like K-Walk said, you're a good coached. What am I trying to say? It's not coming to me. You're a good coach team, whatever I'm trying to say. So it's just you're supposed to do that. That's what you're supposed to do. So to me, they can compete. They did beat Michigan. I know Michigan is not having the same great year this year, but they did just win the national championship last year. So and although some players have left, they still got quite a few are still sitting there. So I'm a little nervous. I'm a little nervous, and that's probably why I sound like this. I'm gonna be honest with you, because Howard got me shook. Howard is my biggest question mark with this team. I'm gonna say Ohio State wins. I hope they start off fast, because the last couple games they seem to not start off fast. So I'm going to say it's going to be a high scoring game. I'm going to say 32-28.
Okay. I like Ohio State too. I got it kind of 31-20, like close early. Ohio State gets some separation late. I agree, K-Walk. I remember you saying it after they lost to Oregon that you still thought they were the best team in football. I agreed. I think they have the most talented roster. And I think if everyone plays their A game, like I just think Ohio State's A game is better than everyone else's A game. So I like the Buckeyes to win. All right, let's
Jay, how much did that pay you to say that?
What's that?
How much did that pain you to say that?
the nice thing about Ohio State winning, though, K-Walk, is we lost to them by 7. So every time someone says, "Hey, they're the best team in football," I can say, "Hey, well, we ain't that bad. If we only lost to them by 7, then we're right there in the mix too." So I'm okay with it. I'm all right with it. But K-Walk, Coach Prime got himself another win last weekend. I actually thought they were going to lose, just not because I just feel there's just something about them that I'm like, I don't know if they're going to close this thing out like they should. But now they're in position to control their own destiny. If they win out, they're going to the Big 12 championship. If they win the Big 12 championship, they're going to be in the college football playoff. So they play Kansas this weekend, a team that has underachieved if you look at their record. Is not very good if you look at their record. But Kansas is probably better than people think they are. And I think they're going to make a game of it. But what are your thoughts on Colorado this weekend? Does Coach Prime get another win?
I'm going to say yes, Jay, because not because I believe it in my heart. It's because I want it to happen. And I'm trying to will it to happen, because I'm not a Coach Prime. I'm not a Shedeur Sanders, and I'm not a Travis Hunter fan off the field, ladies and gentlemen. I'm talking about off the field. I don't like how they get down off the field, but I love how they get down on the field. So I'm talking strictly football. And I think that the Colorado Buffaloes winning the Big 12 and getting into the playoffs would be great for college football. We want to see it. A lot of people want to see it. Hey, there's a lot of people out there that don't want to see it. But I'm one of those who wants to see it because the fact of the matter is it's great for college football.
Yes.
Everybody's going to be tuned in no matter who they're matched up against. I don't care who it is. We want to see how far Coach Prime can take this thing. And again, on the field, I love these guys. Kansas. Now, Kansas is, like you mentioned, they're an enigma right now. I mean, their record doesn't show that how good they really are. But again, it goes back to what we were saying, ladies and gentlemen. You're as good as your record says you are. They're in Kansas, right?
It's gonna be tricky.
Yeah, it's going to be tricky, Jay. It is going to be tricky. It's going to be a tough one, man. I don't want to go against Prime in there, man. I think Kansas wins this one for some reason. Something telling me that, but I hope they prove me wrong, Jay. I'm gonna pull a Brit. I'm gonna play both sides of the fence here. I'm gonna say Kansas wins. I'm gonna say Kansas wins, but I got Colorado coming out.
Okay, all right. So you're in good shape either way. If Kansas wins, your pick is right.
I'm gonna pull a Brit. I'm gonna
Colorado
pull a Brittany
wins.
Jones.
That's what you're really hoping for anyway. You know what? I'm gonna get on that same train with you, K-Walk. I got Kansas 35-32 in a shootout. I think Colorado goes down, but hey, I hope I'm wrong because I want to see Coach Prime in the playoffs as well. Yeah. Britt, give me your thoughts on this one.
Dang, y'all just doubting prime time. Like, what is wrong with y'all?
It usually works out for him when I do, Britt. So.
Oh, okay. Well, then that's different. All right. So I'm like, haven't y'all learned yet? I'm a little nervous too because I think I want them to make it so badly. I'm nervous that they may slip up one of these games, which they shouldn't. I do think they are the more talented team. What they did in that last game, I mean, they just blew the water off of UConn. It's okay, K-Walk, we all do it. They just blew the water, blew the lights out through Utah for UConn. I mean, they have everything I think you need to get through these next two games. Shedeur has been playing fantastic. Travis Hunter, I mean, what more can we say? He is in the Heisman. He is a Heisman trophy candidate right now as we speak. I always speak on the other receivers on that team. The defense plays pretty good as well. And then Coach Prime, I can't deny him. I think their goal is to make the playoffs. I think they will make the playoffs. So in that case, y'all got it right. That means they're going to beat Kansas because they have to beat Kansas.
Okay. There you go. I ain't mad at that pick.
Handily too.
I'm not mad at that pick at all. And most people would agree with that, Britt. Everyone I have seen has picked Colorado to win this weekend. So me and Kay Walker on a bit of an island here. All right, let's real quick. Go ahead.
But I had them going to the playoffs at the beginning of the season. So
you gotta hold on to that.
I gotta hold on to it.
All right, gotta hold on to that. If y'all can pull up the college football rankings, because I just want to ask you guys if you have any beef with kind of where teams are. We'll probably just look at like the top 10 here, and I'll kind of read it as you guys are trying to pull it up. But they got Oregon number 1, Ohio State's at 2, Texas is 3. My Penn State Nittany Lions are sitting comfortably at 4, followed by Indiana at 5, and then Notre Dame, Alabama, Miami, Ole Miss, and Georgia to wrap up the top 10. K-Walk, just kind of peeking at that. Yeah. Do you have an issue with any of it? Do you agree with most of it? Is there anyone that needs to move up? Anyone that needs to move down? What are your thoughts on sort of what the committee did this week?
You know what? For the first time, Jay, I agree with the committee. I think they got this one right. So, yeah, Oregon's one. Yeah, I like it, Jay. Everything you just mentioned, that's what I'm looking at now. I think a lot of it's going to pan out this weekend, between Indiana and Ohio State. Yeah, I like it, and I still think in the long run, Miami may be out of it because I think they'll lose to either SMU or Clemson, whoever they play.
Yeah.
They're gonna lose to one of those two teams, in my opinion. Because you got SMU. I know you talked about the top 10, but SMU is right on the outside looking in.
they're
That one
12,
spot away. Yeah.
Or
So 13,
right?
yeah. So I think they'll beat Miami. So I like it. I like it. It's perfectly constructed, Jay. I'm 100% in agreement.
Yeah, I don't really see anything. I know people have been arguing about this stuff a lot, but I don't really see anything that I think is egregious or
Yeah.
anything that really needs to change. Notre Dame sitting at 6. I'm sure there's some people taking issue with that because they did lose early to, who was it, like North? I can't remember.
Northern Illinois.
Yeah. But watching Notre Dame play, to me, they passed the eye test. Like, to me, I think they look like a pretty good football team. So I'm okay with where they are right now. Britt, anything you see in the rankings right now that you feel like should change, needs to change, or are you good with it?
I mean, I think for the most part, I'm pretty good with it. I don't mind my Ohio State sitting there at 2. They better be top 3. No, I honestly don't see any. If I had to be a little picky, and maybe I'm hung up on it, and I need to get over it, I still think Alabama should be lower because that one loss, you cannot lose that game. That's bugging me out. That would be my only gripe with this thing. I think for most people, they may have an issue with Indiana being 5 because they're undefeated. But for me, I'm good with it. I don't have a problem with it at all.
Yeah. I agree. I think right now it's fine. What's going to be interesting is there's like 6 teams in the SEC right now that have 2 losses.
Yeah.
And if it all ends up like that in the end, how they going to figure out which teams get in and which ones don't, I think that's going to be interesting. But we'll figure that out in the weeks to come. All right, y'all, real quick. I know it's football season. I know football's in full swing. I know on Saturday I'm going to be watching college football. On Sunday I'm going to be watching the NFL. But there are 2 really good women's college basketball games this weekend. South Carolina is playing UCLA, and Notre Dame is playing USC. That is a star-studded game. Notre Dame versus USC, Juju versus Hannah Hidalgo. Like that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to go ahead and predict this one first. I'm going to just put it on the record. I think UCLA is going to beat South Carolina. I can't remember if that game's on Saturday or Sunday, but I watched UCLA play last night or the night before. They are loaded. Like they have a team. And there's this girl, I can't remember her name, but she wears number 30 like Steph Curry, and she hit like 7 threes the other night. Like they have a team. And I think they're going to upset South Carolina this weekend. But K-Walk, I know we're not like in women's basketball mode just yet. But if you have any thoughts on South Carolina, UCLA, give them to me.
Yeah, Jay, like you tend to do with me in baseball, I'm going to defer to you on this one because I haven't watched any women's college basketball games whatsoever. I'm barely watching men's. I want to do, I watch my Tar Heels. I watched Duke because I want to hear about all the hype around, Cooper Flag and all that. But I haven't won a ton of, watched a ton, but not even a ton, not even an ounce of women. So I'm going to defer to you on this one, Jay. So whatever Jay says, I'm going to back him up. And so I'm going to say my prediction is what Jay says.
All right. So K-Walk is with me with UCLA upsetting South Carolina. Britt, what are your thoughts on this?
I think you're talking about, is it her name, Tamia Gardner?
Yes.
I don't know. I might be going along the lines with K-Walk. I don't want to put anything out there. I'm just not one, because the beginning of college basketball, I don't really jump into it. It's probably until around Thanksgiving or right after Thanksgiving. That's when I go full force into college basketball. But just to go on the other side, it's hard for me to go against South Carolina and Dawn Staley. Like, they sometimes, when you watch them, they have their games where they completely dominate teams, and then they have their games where it's like, I don't know, but sometimes they always find a way to win when it matters the most towards the tail end of that fourth quarter. And Dawn Staley, she's a fantastic coach, and they have some fantastic players over there. What's the one name? Flute. I can never say her name. Help me out.
Malaysia Fuwali.
Yes, Fuwali. I always want to say
Fuwali.
Fuwali. I think she's a fantastic player. So I'm gonna go with South Carolina on this one. I'm gonna stick with my team, and you know they're my favorite college basketball team right now anyway. So I'm going with them.
It's not a bad pick to go with the champs.
Hey Jay, let me ask you this, and this is not going to change my pick whatsoever. But how many returning starters does South Carolina have?
They have everyone except Camila Cardosa. She's the only one that went to the WNBA. So they pretty much have everybody back. They got everybody. Obviously she was huge in the middle size wise, so they're not as big as they were last year, but they pretty much have everybody back.
I think that was the biggest thing because they don't have the size, but they got the guards this year. Where years before the guards was just okay, but they had the size. Them guards could play some ball.
Tremendous guard play, and they have a true freshman. Her name is escaping me right now as well, but I think she was the #1 recruit in the country, and she's playing a ton of minutes for them, and she's playing really well too. So that game is Sunday at 4:00. I know that's right in the middle of NFL Sunday, but put it on your second TV, put it on your third TV. Just keep an eye on that one on Sunday. The other big one is on Saturday, Notre Dame versus USC. Juju, Hannah Hidalgo. This could be a star-studded game. Notre Dame has a loaded team. They got some girls hurt right now, but they have looked really good. And obviously, Juju is must-see TV. They also have the transfer Kiki Ariafen from Stanford, who is now on USC, who's projected to be the #2 player taken in the WNBA draft behind Paige Becker. So this will be a star-studded game.
So who are we going with, Jay? Who are you and I going with?
This is a bit of a this is like I think most people, K-Walk, would probably take USC here just because of Juju and Kiki. I'm going Notre Dame here, man. I'm taking Notre Dame. It's a bit of a stretch pick, so you might not want to go with me on this one. But I just feel something about this Notre Dame team, so I'm gonna take Notre Dame here. But who you like, K-Walk?
Look, Jay. Again, based off of what you did show me, but I want to agree with you because again, I haven't watched any bets, but I know Juju and I know
the
Juju,
other way.
What she say? I like Juju, and I'm gonna go. I'm not gonna mess up anything and mess up her Juju. So, I'm going to go with Juju and USC here, man. I'm sorry, I have to disagree with you, even though I haven't watched any women's basketball. I think USC. Are the favorites, in my opinion, to possibly cut down the nets this year.
It's definitely a much more common sense pick than the one I'm making for sure. Britt, who you like?
This is going to be a little bit harder. And I know people are like, "What? You better go with." But Hannah is nice. Like Hannah,
she's a heck of a defensive player too.
Oh my goodness, she can ball on, and I'm talking about. No disrespect to people who got drafted, but I'm talking about these are players who could play great basketball on both sides of the ball. No shade to any of the players that just got drafted. Top two, #1 and #7, whatever it was, because I love them too. But these players are different.
Who was #7, Britt?
Was it 7, 8?
Who was that? Who you talking about?
You know who I'm talking about. Don't do that.
I know. I'm not sure who you're talking about. I know who you're talking about. Obviously at #1, but I
think it was
7.
7 escapes me.
Yeah, don't do that, Jay, because you know who I'm talking about.
I really don't. Oh, you talking about Angel? I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Jay, come on now.
I didn't know.
Jay know the true freshman is coming in, but he don't know who the 7th pick up with.
Don't do that, Jay.
Go ahead, bro.
But these two players, in my opinion, can really, really ball. And I'm excited to see this matchup. What time this comes on Saturday? Or what time?
Saturday at 4:00. So right in the middle of the Penn State games. I won't be watching this one until later that night. But
this is the one where K-Walk says I play both sides of the fence a little bit. I'm a lean towards USC.
Okay.
But slightly lean, because if you must be mistaken if people think they're going to sit and deny Hannah. Hannah is nice.
Yeah, she is.
Like oh my goodness, I'm excited for this one. So I'm gonna go with USC, but not by much.
Okay, the USC has a big, as well, who's pretty decent. Am I mistaken?
Yeah, that's Kiki. That's Kiki Iriafin. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, she's good. She's really good. She's got really a lot of game. She's got a lot of game.
That's why I lean towards USC.
Yeah, I gotta go there. I got it.
but
Yeah.
I think this might be a tighter game than what most
Yeah, I
people.
think her and Juju have both averaged over 20 in every game
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
far this season. They've both been playing some great ball. All right, y'all. That was a great show. Good stuff. A lot of fun. Before we get out of here, K-Walk, let the people know where to find you. And I'm pretty sure we know what you're looking forward to, but you could tell us anyway.
Yeah, man. Look, you can catch me on Kevin Walker, whatever, God. Kevin Walker on Facebook, Instagram, Kevin.Walker142, at Twitter, X, at Kevin Walker142. Catch me tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Sports Talk with K-Walk, E. Scott. Never Had It So Good Sports Radio. Wherever you get your podcast, ladies and gentlemen, please check us out. We got a great one dialed up for you tomorrow night. Again, Sports Talk with K-Walk and E. Scott. Never Had It So Good Sports Radio. Looking forward to, we got a good one this Thursday. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to more basketball. Football, I'm looking forward to that. Of course, looking for my Niners to redeem themselves as well. Got a tough one going into Green Bay. So gotta get this one, guys. Gotta get this one to hold on to our season for a little bit.
All right, good stuff, K-Walk. You can find me at Jason Talk Sports on all social media platforms at Jason Talk Sports. And yeah, look, I can't wait for the college football this weekend. We got some really fun games, and of course, I'm going to try to have those women's college basketball games on the second or third TV, just so I can keep an eye on that as well. So a lot to look forward to this weekend. Britt, what you got for us?
You guys can find me on IG, Instagram, also X, formerly known as Twitter, at Brittany Monique. It's right at the bottom of my screen if you don't know how to spell it. And I'm looking forward to the rest of this Cleveland and Boston game because Cleveland is only down by 2. So
they came back.
They came back and made this game. So you know what they heard it say? It's cute, and they're like, "Yeah, all right, I'll show you." But no, of course, I'm looking forward to football. I'm looking forward to, although I haven't really been watching this daggone team, I want to see if the Sixers could turn it around on whoever they play next after that so-called meeting.
Yeah.
I haven't really been watching the other games at all, but I want to see if they could turn it around. So that's what I'm looking forward to. And then also, it sounds like I got to start getting into college basketball now with these crazy games coming up. So, yeah. Right. And K-Walk, I've been wanting to say this, but your T-shirt is making me hungry.
Oh, my bad. My bad. Grew up for him. That's what got through me college, man. That's what got me through college. Got me through college.
Now.
Yeah, man.
K-Walk got a T-shirt for everything. Yeah. I don't know if there's something K-Walk don't have a T-shirt for, but he got T-shirts for everything. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you guys listening. Thank you for sticking around for the entire show. Hit that like button, just share it, subscribe, tell a friend. We're trying to grow the channel. Anything you can do to help, we greatly appreciate it. And we'll be back here live next Tuesday at 7 p.m. So for Brittany Jones and Kevin Walker, I'm Jason Collins. We'll see you guys next week.